Hi everyone, it's Ash from FPL Hints here with some more pre-season FPL content ahead of the 24-25 season. And as always, if you're able to like, share and subscribe, that will be greatly appreciated right then. So I asked you all to send in your final FPL drafts with the game week 1 deadline looming. And I've received a lot for this video, so I'll cram in as much as I can. And again, I'll be as forthright as possible with all of my reviews. Again, I'm biased in the way that I look at these teams. I'm looking for balance and I'm looking for the ways in which you're unlocking value. So without further ado, let's get straight into it and begin rating your FPL drafts. Again, it's done on an anonymized basis so that I can give my honest opinion. So here we go for this draft, Henderson in goal. So I do like that, 4.5 budget goalkeeper, which is in my good books. You got Pedro Porro, Gvardiol, and Quansah in this draft. Fair enough. Question mark on Quansah's longevity, but he's expected to start according to many for those initial games. So I can tolerate that. You got Mohamed Salah as your captain, Eze, Nkunku, and Smith Rowe in this 3-4-3 formation. So I'm expecting a power 3 attack here. You've got Solanke, Isak, and Haaland. It's looking very balanced. No complaints there so far, and no major misses, apart from an Arsenal attacker, perhaps. They've got Matthews as your sub-1 goalie. Again, very clever, so that if for whatever reason there's an injury to Henderson, you've got that covered. Interesting. You've got Bob as your sub-1. I've seen many have him as the 5th midfielder. Then you've got Barco and Harwood Bellis as your respective sub-2 and sub-3. I think this is a very balanced draft. Again, Arsenal cover, specifically an attacking option, is a miss here, but it's very balanced. I'm going to give you a 4 out of 5. So on to the next draft, David Raya in goal. So I've talked about my interest in getting a budget goalkeeper, but let's see what you've cooked up here. A very premium heavy defense of Trent Alexander-Arnold. You've got Pedro Porro and Gvardiol, and a 4-man midfield of Jota, Saka, Bruno, and Kulusevski. So it's quite differential there. And then a 3-man attack. You got no Haaland and no Salah. Isak, Wood, and Havertz. And then a bench of Turner as your sub-goalie, Anderson, Elanga, and Byrne. I think there are a couple of question marks with Byrne. Questions on whether he will start or if he'll get regular mins this season. Elanga, I think there could be an ex-mins issue there. Not the worst pick in the world. I think there are more questions than answers with this draft, and it is a bit defense heavy. I'm going to give you a 2.5 out of 5. On to the next draft, we've got David Raya in goal again. And then a defense of Trent Alexander-Arnold, got Hall, Pedro Porro. There are question marks on Hall's long-term ex-mins, although they're saying he is expected to start, so question mark there. Got Eze, Gordon, Rodgers, and Jota, so no Mohamed Salah. Solanke, Isak, Haaland. And then Fabianski, Nkunku, and Colwill on the bench. Quansah, very strong bench there. Can Jota cover Mohamed Salah? That is the question. It might be a question on the defense as well. I'm also going to give this one a 2.5 out of 5. On to the next draft, you've got Flecken in goal, Byrne, Quansah, and Trent. So I mentioned there is that question mark on Byrne, but let's see your sub-1. Got Eze, Mohamed Salah, Gordon, and Nkunku. That's a fair enough 4-man midfield there. Got Haaland, João Pedro, and Isak up top. So you managed to make it work with Salah and Haaland. Let's check out the bench. Bentley as your sub goalkeeper, Rodgers, Barco, Johnson. I think this is reasonable. I do see the balance there, but it's the formation is a question mark for me. I'll give you a 3.5 out of 5. On to the next draft. Good to see Henderson in goal once again. Oh, a 4-man defense of Porro, Byrne, Van Dijk, and Barco. Okay, and a 4-man midfield of Mohamed Salah, Bruno Fernandes, Jota, and Elanga. Again, is there an ex-mins issue on Elanga, and can Jota keep fit? Haaland and Isak up top. Got Matthews in goal, again, just to get the cover for Henderson. And you've got Armstrong as your forward. Winks and Harwood Bellis with Armstrong. Are there X-Men's issues there with Brereton Diaz? I'm not keen on the 4-man defence, again, due to the BPS changes. Again, it's not the worst team in the world, and I do like the fact you've got a lot of Liverpool attacking cover there. But I have to down mark you on the formation. I'll give you a 3 out of 5. On to the next draft. Got Flecken in goal. Defence of Barco, Trent and Quansah. It's a double Liverpool defence. You've got Mohamed Salah as well to complete the triple up. Oscar Bob as a starter. Murphy and Fernandez. I think Murphy and Bob might be asking a couple of questions there. But again, it's to fund your 3-man attack of Haaland, Isak and Solanke as captain against Leicester. Interesting. And you've got Valder Martin as your goalie. Again, with Flecken, you've got your playing goalkeeper, whatever happens injury-wise to Flecken. Smith Rowe as your sub-1. Very interesting. Harwood Bellis and Wout Weiss. I do see what you're doing there. But again, question marks on Bob and Murphy in the long term. Even Quansah. I've got to be a bit more harsh with this one. Well, I do like the direction of travel, but I will be a bit harsh, unfortunately. That's a 2 out of 5 for me. On to the next draft. We've got Pope in goal, Pinnock, Mikalenko, and Trent. So that's the first Brentford defender that we've seen there, albeit many have had Flecken. Gordon, De Bruyne, Mitoma, and Mohamed Salah. So we've got a 2022-23 field with Mitoma there. Isak, Muniz, and Solanke. And then Lumley, Robinson, and Kunku as a sub 2, and Barco. So it's a very strong bench there. Again, it's not the worst thing in the world to have a strong bench. Bit of a maverick pick here and there as well. And a heavy goalkeeper. I'm going to be a bit fair, but that's a 2.5 out of 5. On to the next draft. We've got Pickford in goal, Porro, Hall, and Quansah. But here we've got a very interesting midfield. Gibbs-White with a generous run of upcoming games for Forest, and Kunku as a starter in a 4-man midfield with Salah and Kudus. And then Solanke, Haaland, Isak. Again, lots with Solanke now after that move to Spurs. And then a bench of Henderson, Davis, Winks, and Harwood Bellis. So you've got a rotating goalkeeper situation there. I kind of feel that that's a bit too strong for the goalkeepers. You might want to relax on that front there. And extra $500,000 could have gone to beef up the bench. The fact you've got Haaland and Salah, and you've got a few differentials there. I'll give it a 2.5 out of 5. On to the next draft, we've got Pickford in goal, Porro, Gabriel, and Quansah. Again, it seems rare to have an Arsenal defender, but we've had some David Raya cover. Eze, Salah, Garnacho, Saka, and Fernandez. That's a very strong 5-man midfield, but do you have Haaland? No, you don't. Got Isak and Solanke as your attackers there. And then a bench of Flecken, Pedro, Byrne, and Barco. So a very strong bench, but again, you could probably do that considering that you don't have Haaland. It's not the worst Haaland draft, but I kind of feel that you could have unlocked a bit more there by having not Pickford, but instead having Henderson as a goalkeeper, perhaps unlock an extra $500,000 there. But I see what you're doing, but it's just risky not having any Man City cover at all. So I'm going to give you a 2 out of 5. On to the next draft. You've got Becker in goal, also known as Alisson, Munoz in defence. Good to see him. Hall, Quansah. So very differential defence. Not going to complain too much about that. You got Saka, Smith Rowe, Jota, and Gordon. Can Jota cover Salah? That is the question. Isak, Watkins, and Haaland. A very heavy front 3 there. I do like that. And then Valdemarson, Weiss, Brereton Diaz, and Barco. I do like the differential direction of travel with this. But again, Alisson Becker in goal, question mark. That's probably a bit too heavy. Could have just got Flecken and Valdemarson. You already got some Liverpool cover there. I do like the thinking behind it, but I'll give you 2.5 out of 5. On to the next draft. You've got Matthews in goal. Let's just check the defence. Let's check the other goalkeeper, Henderson. So I think you've got that the wrong way around, but I won't down mark you for that. Got Hall, Munoz, and Barco. 5-man midfield of Semenyo. Again, like the thinking there, with that out of position potential. Fernandez, Rodgers, Salah, De Bruyne, Solanke, and Haaland. So you got Haaland and Salah there. And Gvardiol was a sub 1. Got Greaves and Stewart. Very differential team. One of the most differential ones I've seen with Haaland and Salah. Again, I like the direction of travel. Again, Matthews, obviously, you'd probably mistakenly put him as your starting goalie, but I'll give you a 3 out of 5. On to the next draft, you've got Pickford and Turner. Looking at the defence, you've got Dalot, Saliba, Hall, Mikalenko, Barco. Looking like a 5-man midfield of Gordon, Garnacho, Son, Jota, and Eze. So you probably bench Barco and potentially one of Mikalenko. Well, the other defenders might be harder to bench, but we'll see. Haaland, Solanke, and Wood up top. It's a very strong team. So you're going to have some benching headaches with one of your forwards, one of your midfielders, and 2 of your defenders. It looks like a very balanced team, but of course you don't have Mohamed Salah. But I think you've done a fair bit with the way that you've spent the money. Probably Pickford could have been switched out for a cheaper goalkeeper. I'll give you a 3 out of 5 for your effort. On to the next draft. Got a good rotating pair here. Got Flecken and Areola. So you got 2 4.5s. Good to see that as opposed to a 5 and a 4.5. Very heavy defense of Gvardiol, Saliba, Byrne, and then Barco, Harwood, Bellis as your standard sub 2, sub 3 options. Eze, Gordon, Smith Rowe, Salah. So I'm hoping this is a 3-man attack up top. Isak, Muniz, Haaland. I do like that. Very balanced for a 3-4-3. Probably one of the better 3-4-3s I've seen. And even if you just flicked out Areola for Matthews, have an extra $500,000, you could potentially upgrade Winks to a Rodgers. I'm going to be very generous with this one, considering that you've got Salah and Haaland, albeit no attacking Arsenal cover. I'll give you a 4 out of 5. On to the next draft. Got Henderson in goal. Good to see him again. Quansah, Munoz, Trent with a midfield of Nkunku, Salah, Gordon, and Eze, and a 3-man attack of João Pedro, Haaland, and Isak. Slicker, never heard of him, but he's playing for Ipswich apparently against Liverpool as a sub goalie. Sangare, Barco, Johnson. Interesting. I do like the Johnson shout, who is in my penultimate draft as well. Got a lot of balance here as well. I do like how you've set this team up and the direction of travel. Again, lack of Arsenal cover is an issue. I'll give you a 3.5 out of 5. On to the next draft. You've got Henderson, Gvardiol, Pedro Porro, Eze, Gordon, Saka, Jota, Isak, Solanke, Haaland. Now, this is very interesting. You've got the double Newcastle attack. You've got Saka, Haaland, and then Jota covering Salah potentially, Bentley, Barco, Feist, and Winks. I think the defense is probably slightly too heavy, perhaps. But I'll give you a 3.5 out of 5. On to the next draft. We've got Henderson in goal. And then a defense of Anderson, Byrne, question mark on him, Alex Moreno. Could you get Quansah perhaps? Gibbs White, Eze, Salah, Saka, and a 4-man midfield. And then your attack is Pedro, Haaland, and Isak. Not bad, 3-4-3. Got Ward, Carvalho. Again, that move and his value could be significant there. Barco and Feist. I think Carvalho's 5 million, could be a potential cheat code with his move. I do like the thinking behind this. And you got Salah, Saka, and Haaland. And I do like those attackers there. I'm just trying to think what are the glaring misses. Again, you don't have premium defender, but neither do I think I'll be generous with this one. I do like the bench depth as well. I'm going to give you, for a 3-4-3 formation, I'm going to give you a 4 out of 5. So well done. On to the next draft. We've got Hall, Barco, Robinson, and Trent in a 4-man defence, but they've got a 4-3-3 here of Salah, Jota, Smith Rowe with Haaland, Wood, and Isak. First 4-3-3 we've seen. Seems a bit retro nowadays. Followed by Turner, Rodgers, and Nkunku. Very strong defence. And Lewis as your defensive options as well. The fact you've got Haaland and Salah, but then you've sacrificed another midfielder perhaps, that is surprisingly balanced for a 4-3-3. And I'm not fond of 4-3-3s with the way that the BPS has worked for this season. But you know what? For a 4-3-3, I'll give you a 4 out of 5. On to the next draft. Got Flecken in goal, Trent, Martinez, Gvardiol with Salah, Eze, Jota and Bob with Haaland, Isak and Wood. Interesting balance there. And then you've got Valdemarson, again covering the Flecken option with Barco, Johnson and Bergval. Again, I'm not fond of 3-4-3 or 4-3-3, but I do like the way you've balanced it. It's not the worst draft in the world. Just trying to look for some glaring misses. Again, Arsenal cover. I'll give you a 3.5 out of 5. On to the next draft. And I do remember the previous video I did, we had a lot of drafts that had Miguel for their Nottingham Forest goalkeeper. Here we've got Sells, so maybe Sells will be the starter, followed by Quansah, Mikalenko and Trent, and Kunku, Bob, Salah and Eze, with Isak, Haaland and Wood up top. Quansah, as opposed to Quansah, as another defender there. I think we need to see more teams with Quansah and Quansah, with Williams and Smith Rowe. Why was he sub 3? That's a bit of a weird one. Strength in depth there, missing Arsenal cover. Double Liverpool defence, interesting. I'll give you a 3 out of 5. On to the next draft. David Raya in goal, seems a bit heavy, with Quansah, Gvardiol and Hall. First one, Luis Diaz. And you got Diaz and Jota. Now, I do like that, the fact you don't have Salah, so you're getting double on these two Liverpool attackers instead. So you've got Saka and Gordon. That is a very good no Salah midfield. Points there. Got Porro, Haaland and Isak, of course you do. And you've got Isak as your captain. Bench of Valdemarson. Again, reminder that, Raya's the goalkeeper. So you've got Barco, Smith Rowe, sub 2, and Robinson. So that is a very strong no Salah draft. Probably too strong. You could, I'd say, downsize David Raya to unlock funds. But then, and you got Saka as well, as mentioned. I'm going to be very generous with this one. 4 out of 5 for a no Salah draft. On to the next draft. Got Henderson in goal. Hall, Gvardiol, Porro. Mentioned there's a question mark on Hall. Jota, Murphy. Yeah, question mark there. Salah, Minter. Again, differential, but we have to check out his minutes in these opening game weeks with Haaland, Isak, Havertz. Fabianski as your sub 1. Quansah, Barco and Winks. I think this is a bit too differential for me, but it's not the worst draft in the world. I'm going to give you a 2.5 out of 5. On to the next draft, you've got David Raya in goal with the defence of Lewis Hall, Trent and Gvardiol, with Bruno, Eze, Jota and Bob, with Isak, Havertz and Haaland. Let's check the bench out. King, Rodgers, Robinson and Barco. So I do like that bench, very strong. Again, I like the fact you don't have Saka, so you've got Havertz. You don't have Salah, so you've got Jota. You've got the double Man City, triple Man City cover there. So really going in on those fixtures. I kind of feel that perhaps David Raya is a bit too overpriced at 5.5 million, and you could get a 4.5 keeper. Let's say you get like Flecken and Valdemarson, and then the extra million you could potentially beef up the midfield. But I'll give you this, just for the thinking process here and the balance, a 3.5 out of 5. On to the next draft, we've got Flecken and Fabianski as the goalkeepers. Again, if you're going to really have this sort of combo, probably makes sense having Valdemarson. And with hindsight, I probably need to do that with my goalkeeping situation as well. Now get the 4.0 Palace goalkeeper as my sub. Akanji, Saliba, Martinez, Barco and Taylor. Amad Diallo, Fernandez, Odegaard, Salah and Winks. So what are you looking at? Potentially a 3-4-3. Look at the strikers as well. I'll give you a 3 out of 5 there. On to the next draft. We've got Henderson in goal. Like it. Just let's go straight to the sub goalie. Pickford. Oh, bit too strong. I don't like that. Porro, Mikalenko, Gabriel. Fair enough. Eze, Palmer, First one with Palmer, can you believe it or not? And again, I've did a separate video on like the true percentages in FPL right now. And on official FPL at the time of recording, Palmer's ownership is like, what, 47%? Whereas if you look at the engaged and elite managers, his ownership is, what, barely 22%. So he's almost a differential premium, but it's good to see him in one of these drafts. Don't have Haaland, that's how you can afford him. Tony, where's he going to end up? Question mark there. Bit too differential for my liking. Smith Rowe, again, if I had him, I wouldn't have him as sub 2. I'll give you a 2.5 out of 5. On to our final draft, we've got Flecken in goal, Quansah, Van de Ven, Mikalenko. Interesting 4.5 combo there. Eze, Hudson-Odoi. Again, haven't seen him in many drafts, and he seems like an informed player for Forest towards the end of last season. Fernandes, Saka, Haaland, Solanke, and Isak, so no Salah there. With a bench of Neto, Nkunku, Kilman, and Castagna. That's a very strong bench, probably one of the strongest benches we've seen in this review video. But again, you don't have Mohamed Salah, you don't have any other Liverpool cover apart from Quansah. Thinking what could have been done here, perhaps flip out Fernandes for a Jota perhaps, or a Diaz. But again, I think Diaz only came back from the Copa America fairly recently. Yeah, I think this could have been, this is a bit, the bench is a bit too strong. So I like the thinking, especially it was looking good at the start. Then it's like, I think the funds could be reallocated and redistributed in a different way. I'll give this draft a 2 out of 5. So there you have it. That is my review of your final FPL drafts ahead of the Game Week 1 deadline. Let me know in the comments below, was I too harsh? Was I too lenient? Are there any other draft combinations that you haven't seen that are worth shouting out about? And what do you consider as the optimal formation? I was really surprised there weren't that many 3-5-2s across the board. We saw a bit of a mix with 3-4-3s, even a 4-4-2 and a 4-3-3 as well. But ultimately, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I just feel that with the way BPS has been changed, especially for the defenders, that it doesn't make sense having 2 premium defenders now in FPL. And the fact that Haaland is now so expensive that you want to keep the defense relatively cheap. Probably could push for 1 premium defender like a Trent or a Guardiola, but you really want to redistribute the funds in midfield. A lot of value there, a lot of fantastic midfielders who are 6.5 or less, be it Nkunku or in the 5.0 category, Bob, bit of a differential, but I think Smith Rowe, so many FPL managers that I've just reviewed had him as a bench player. I get it. They'll probably bench him for the first game and then start him for the remaining ones as well. It was really good to see a lot of the different combinations with Haaland, without Haaland, with Salah, without Salah, and with both as well. A lot of balance across the board. And it was interesting to see that it wasn't as if everyone just had a 4.5 sub 1 and a 4.0 sub 2 and a 4.0 sub 3. There was a lot of balance across the board. And ultimately, you look at the elite FPL managers, they do have balance. They'll, probably have a premium defender. They'll have a premium striker and a premium midfielder and spread the funds accordingly. Talking of which, and elite FPL managers, I am due to do my annual predicting Fabio Borges team. I'm almost done with that research, and I'll aim to get that video published at least a day before the deadline. Again, I'm not going to predict his team absolutely spot on. I got 4 out of 5 of his defense spot on last year, 4 out of 5 of the midfield spot on last year. But it's harder this year because the way the pricing has been done, it's harder to get a lot of the popular picks. So again, I'm just trying to work out the way in which he will go for his direction of travel. But I will give some very specific predictions on the type of players that he'll pick. And I will make the draft. I'll set myself a target on how much of his team I'd be hoping that I can get spot on. And you can assess it for yourself as well. And apart from that, I will hopefully publish my final team selection video before the deadline as well. And then we'll go straight into season mode, whereby I'll try and do a preview video once every week as well. and been very heavy with the content during this preseason. I think I almost made 40 videos from the end of May till now. So yeah, if you want to buy me a coffee, feel free to do so through the link under this video, which is pinned. And as always, if you're able to like, share, and subscribe, that will be greatly appreciated. Take care and all the best.